Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Just Juicy podcast. It's your host, Juicy Justine, here to talk about all things juicy in life, getting raw and real. So thanks for listening, and happy to have you here.
That is juicy.
Yes, it's Juicy Justine, and I have with me Zach O'Malley.
O'Malley.
The head coach of the Vegan Strong Fitness podcast.
Yes.
And a mentor, mentality mentor.
Indeed.
If you can't see him right now, he's 6'1", he's towering over me. He's got green eyes and abs, and he's got his protein, and he's vegan.
Clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Clearly. Let's go.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being on my first episode.
Heck yeah. Thanks for coming to DC. I hope you're having a good time.
Oh, yeah. I'm loving it. I love DC. I definitely have to come back. So Zach, tell me about your vegan fitness journey, or how you started becoming vegan, and how long you've been vegan.
Sorry, I gotta make sure I'm like right in the mic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I went vegan 4 years ago. I guess similar time as you. Cool.
4 years, me too.
Yeah, and I think pretty much the standard reason that everybody goes vegan. Like obviously, I told you a few minutes ago. Like I started because
Tell the people.
I just thought like it would be good for my health. Like I heard people say that you would recover faster, like acne, right? Like soreness, muscle soreness, all kinds of other stuff, like less lethargy, all these various things. And I figured, what the heck, why not give it a try? And I had heard like the whole protein thing, right? Like you're not going to get enough protein.
Yeah, where are you getting protein?
You're going to wither away. And so, I was like, maybe I should at least just try and see what happened. And honestly, it was incredible, right? Like my lethargy pretty much immediately went away. Right. All my acne took like a week to go away. I think it was just the dairy.
Wow.
Yeah. They say like the, what is it? Like all of the semantic cells in dairy, your body's got to get rid of it. Right. And so you like excrete it through your skin. And so my acne went away. Like my tiredness went away immediately. I started gaining muscle a lot faster. And so all of the misinformation was like right out the door for me. I was like, okay, this is incredible, right? This is life-changing. And then with that, you're in the community, you're in the social networks, you're getting all the propaganda. And so I just started really reflecting on what happened to the animals. And once I made that connection, I couldn't go back. So.
Oh, that's incredible. I'm so glad that you made that connection. It sounds just like my journey with health first and then ethics. Watching those documentaries.
Yep.
Earthlings, Conspiracy.
That'll change them. That'll change people's minds for sure.
So then how did you become a fitness coach?
Good question. So I think I mentioned to you 2-3 years ago, I was doing marketing. So I had a marketing company called Beacon Zero Marketing. If anyone wants to go look it up, you're probably not going to find anything, but
it's not no more.
No, it does not exist anymore. But so I had a bunch of businesses. Like when I was a kid, I was doing all kinds of, like I was selling stuff on eBay, right? Like I was the kid like trying to flip candy in middle school. I don't know if this is allowed on your show, but I was doing
it's all allowed.
I was doing all kinds of stuff, right? So like, when I finally figured out how lucrative like weed was, boom, I'm all over it, right? And so eventually I moved into the ethical, legal. I'm not saying selling drugs is unethical, by the way, but I moved into the like legitimate business model and trying to figure stuff out. So I was like selling stuff on Amazon, and I had a fitness store on the internet. But I just found that, and especially when I got into marketing and I had my own clients and stuff, I just found that it was almost like, what's that line from that song? Like, mo money, mo problems. And that's what it was. Like the more clients I got, the more I was like, man, this is stressful. I'm trying to do all this to make money, and I don't really care about what I'm doing. So I asked myself, if you can make money doing anything, what would you want to do? Right. And I was like, well, I love fitness. I love helping people. I love coaching. And so that's what I want to do. And so here we are, 3 years later, and that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. And then you made your podcast right after, or what made you start it?
So like The Voice, like a lot of people are like,
yeah.
you got a great radio
Yeah,
voice.
and so it's so deep.
And so like that kind of sold me when a lot of people were like, oh, you should really do something with that. And getting deep into the vegan community made me feel as though there's just more of a connectedness amongst vegans that I'd never really found in any other group of people before. And so I wanted to spread that message. And so it started out with all kinds of discussions, like just whoever I could freaking get, I would interview them and we would talk about all kinds of things. And so I've had interviews with people talking about ethics, finance, music, like politics, like universal basic income and this kind of thing. And then more recently, more athletes, people that have had like big weight loss transformations, much more fitness focused. But so it just kind of evolved in that way, and hopefully it keeps on doing so.
Oh yeah, definitely. Give it a listen.
Right, there you go. The Vegan Strong podcast. Check it out.
On Spotify.
Wherever podcasts are sold.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I do notice the vegan community is a lot more compassionate and just some incredible people. So
very supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to connect with them it's great. I mean, there's all different types of vegans.
That's true.
So how would you identify, what kind of vegan do you think you are?
That's an awesome question. I've never had anybody ask me that question. Definitely an ethical vegan. Like for me, if you're not an ethical vegan, you're not really a vegan, right? Like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I think a lot of people out there, like they think, oh, I'm quote unquote vegan for health reasons.
Because you're so athletic?
Well, I'm saying in general, but maybe people would think that about me. But no, I'm vegan for the animals. I'm plant-based because it feels good. But no, I'm vegan because I think it's the right thing to do. So ethical vegan.
Yes. Yeah. And you were working on a dairy farm, you told me before.
Yeah. Would expose me. Yeah. Yeah. So I worked on a dairy farm for 4 months after I graduated high school. And that was in a tiny town called Albion, Maine. And so I graduated high school and I was like, well, I don't want to go to college right away. I want to find something that I can do that will connect me to nature and the environment, and I'll learn skills and all this stuff, right? And so my uncle had friends who were dairy farmers, and he was like, well, why don't you just go work with them? And at that time, I was thinking, oh, well, I love animals, right? And so it would be cool to be around a bunch of animals. And, on one hand, it was, there were like horses and chickens and goats and all this stuff, but it was also just backbreaking work, right? Like we worked like 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, it was a constant work. I had to like fight tooth and nail to take days off. It was all under the table. So I was doing, so what they were doing to me was illegal, but
everything is so illegal there.
Right. But I didn't even make the connection at that point. Like the way that we were treating the animals, like looking back, it's pretty brutal, like you inseminate the cows. What else is there to say? Like you have to forcefully inseminate the cows. Like you basically keep them in one place for their whole lives, essentially. For the first 6 months of their lives, they remain chained in one spot. And then between 6 to 8 months and then birthing age, like on the farm that I was on, at least they had relative freedom. But then people often think that cows like produce milk just all the time, constantly producing milk, no matter what. And no, actually cows are like any other mammal, and they have to be pregnant in order to produce milk, right? They have to have a child that they're producing the milk for. And so, the calf is taken from its mother, right? As soon as it's born, sent off to, if it's a male calf, it's sold to a beef farm right away. If it's a female calf, it's raised up to have the same thing done to it. And so, this is a small, quote unquote, small organic farm, right? Only 50 cows. And I think people have this perception of like, oh, no, the milk I buy comes from, a small farm where the cows are treated great, manicures and all that. And like, It's not the case. It's not the case, right? That is just not happening on any of these farms to any of these cows. And so, but it's crazy because I didn't make the connection until I went vegan and I started reflecting on all this stuff that happened and that I watched. And I was like, man, that was crazy, right? And the fact that this is happening on a mass scale, and you have people like defending it or pretending that the stuff that they eat is fine. People don't know what they're talking about.
They're just in denial, or maybe they just haven't seen it or made the connection. Yeah,
right. And usually for most of us, when we're confronted with information that like is against our beliefs and like how we're behaving, we're gonna resist it. Like that's our natural inclination is defensiveness. So it makes sense. I just wish people were more open to hearing about, more open to like challenging their beliefs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I feel like a lot of people are very in their culture, traditions, societal pressures, and friends and family.
Right.
How do you deal with all of that?
Great question. Jokes, humor, and a dark sense of nihilism. I mean, I think like, I mean, like people know me for being very willing to take jokes and take criticism, but I'll be honest, like you're catching me at a point in my life where so you know how like when you first go vegan, a lot of the time there's like this sense of, what do I want to say? Like anger.
Oh yeah,
like
I felt that.
Brutal frustration with everything. Right?
Yeah, your emotions are just raging because you're like, how could they ever do this?
Right. How do we just not know? How does nobody know? But I think it like that after a while, it starts like dip and you're just like, well, I can't be mad all the time. And like, I can't be depressed all the time. I mean, I could.
It's not a good vibration to be on.
Exactly. But I think like I'm coming back up towards this place of like, I just can't really do the jokes anymore. Like, I just can't really do the like, humor denial, right? And I have a lot of people in my life. I mean, really everybody in my life is non-vegan. Most, right? I mean, I'm very lucky to, at this point, have a girlfriend that's vegan.
I love that.
A lot of good vegan friends.
Yeah, same.
But my family, right, they're primarily non-vegan. Most of my in-person friends that I've had for most of my life, and I'm very lucky to have a friend group that has remained as loyal as I have, right, for my whole life, essentially. Pretty amazing. But they're all non-vegans, and a lot of them just make jokes and stuff all the time. And it does get to the point where you're like, nut up or shut up. Like pick one. Are you gonna take accountability for your life, or are you going to expect that I'm just gonna keep, letting the jokes go, right? And I don't like to compare things to like, racism or sexism or anything like that, but
kind of in a way like that.
You wouldn't be saying that shit to people that,
that are being oppressed.
Right. That are being oppressed. Right. And so I'm not saying vegans in particular are being oppressed, but
the animals.
And I'm trying to stand up for these animals, and you're cracking jokes about these beings all the time, and it just gets sickening. And so that's kind of where we're at.
How do you deal with all that when they make jokes like that then?
I mean, it's been like I brush it off, right? Or I will debate them and then they'll like cry about it. But it's just getting to the point where I just avoid people. I don't like to say that I avoid them or I cut them out, because I do think that Mike Tyson had a piece where he basically talks about like, if you cut people out, like they're your master, right? Like they changed you, right? You allowed that person to change you. And I don't think that's what I'm doing. I think what I'm doing is just, I am choosing better energy. How about that?
Oh, I like that. Because you got to be careful with your energy.
Right. And so I am being more conscientious of how my energy is being spent. And that means either deliberately choosing not to engage or deliberately choosing to engage in another direction, right? Like choosing to engage with other people.
Yeah, other like-minded.
There you go.
We just get you. Mm-hmm. It just feels so much better.
Right. Like you don't have to you're not sitting around in defense mode all the time. That gets exhausting, right?
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have non-vegan friends, but...
Sure, me too.
Yeah, right? But
my tolerance is lowering.
Tolerance is lowering.
It is, yeah.
I assume you probably get the question of how do you get your protein?
All the time.
All the time.
Is that what you're about to ask me?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
How do you get your protein?
I get my protein by eating. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but no, I mean, like everything's got protein in it. I mean, I think, yeah, everything's got protein in it. The thing is, like, the sources that every person ever could name. If you were to ask somebody what are plant sources of protein, they'd be like beans. They'd be like, good. Okay, lentils, good. Whole grains, certain pastas, great. You got it. Like all this stuff, it's got protein in it. And so I'll be honest, like I don't think that hard about it. I think, tofu, seitan, whole grains, like all these things have protein, and
Even fruit has protein.
Even fruit has certain protein. Yeah, exactly. And so protein deficiency is a made up problem. You've never met anyone that had protein deficiency. Never. And so everybody claims to know someone, claims that it's a huge problem. Why have you never seen anyone that has it, right? Why, when you look up studies of protein deficiency, you're not going to find that it's a problem, right? I forget what so like the real common one is like B12 deficiency, right? That they talk about. There is more people have B12 deficiencies that are non-vegan than are vegan, right? And like, yeah, because there are just way more non-vegans, but on a ratio scale, it's like equal. Like when you look at it from a ratio perspective of like percentages of people that have B12 deficiency, it's not higher in vegans.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's not. And so I think what people don't understand is that while you might have, and I got to be really careful talking about the science because like I don't have the articles right on hand, but while you might have like more protein dense foods that are animal products, there are other issues that could be taking away from that protein, right? Like just the massive amount of cholesterol that's in animal products, right?
Yes.
Right? Like,
oh my God, so clogging.
Right. The acidic proteins that are literally leaching calcium out of your body, right? Like people are like, oh, you need, milk to get your calcium, cow's milk to get calcium. But what if that same milk is actually taking the calcium out of your body in a higher amount than you're actually getting it?
It is.
Right. So it's just like, what the fuck? What are you guys talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. And so when it comes to getting your protein, I just think like everything has protein in it. Try to eat as healthy as you can, right? Try to remove the unnecessary sugars, the unnecessary salt. Just try to eat healthy. You will be fine. You will not have protein deficiency, right?
Exactly.
Work out, get your muscles to start building some strength and endurance. You will be fine. It's not a thing.
Yeah, it's not like we really need protein. It's we need amino acids that can digest well, and animal protein is not the same. It's
the same. At the end of the day, once it digests to a molecular level, it's all the same protein.
But it takes more energy.
It does to digest animal products. It does, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of the answer is just eat a balanced diet. And if it comes down to it, and you get a blood test and you are deficient in one amino acid, supplement it, right? Look up what foods have that amino acid and just try to eat more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not hard.
Do you supplement at all?
No, not really. I take I know I'm like breathing in my, I take a multivitamin every day, and that covers all my bases. I mean, that's how I do it. And I know a lot of people, that would be fine. For 99% of you, if you're worried about deficiencies, you could take a multivitamin. That will cover your base. You will be fine.
Oh, yeah. And as long as you eat enough, and I mean, you don't even actually have to eat too much.
I don't think, how, like a lot of people, I think for a lot of people, part of the problem is like they go vegan and they swap these kind of like really protein and fat dense foods like chicken breast or like cow flesh. And I try to say flesh because
that's what it is.
I just try to keep it 100 with y'all.
Keep it raw and real.
Keep it raw and real on the Juicy Justine podcast. But where was I going? Yeah, so I think a lot of the time people are just like swapping these foods out and not replacing them with similarly substantial foods. So if you're a bodybuilder and you're on the classic chicken flesh and rice diet, right? And you're just
so many people are
boom, 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 crushing that out. if you just get rid of if you swap the chicken for more rice, right? Like that's not an effective swap. That's like just more carbs, like all carbs, very little protein at that point. Swap the chicken for like some seasoned tofu, right? Swap the chicken for some seasoned seitan or even just beans, right? I think a lot of the time people like get rid of these foods that are protein and fat dense and just try to swap more carbs. And then they're like, why am I gaining all this weight? It's like, well, because your body is programmed to like store carbohydrates like a machine, right? That's just what we're really good at that. And so it just makes sense, right? And so I think that's what people need to be conscious of is like, if the healthiest food that you're eating is like salmon, right? If you're eating salmon bodies,
full of parasites, by the way.
Right. And mercury and all these heavy metals. Yeah, great for you, right? Fish is so good for you. but yeah, like if you're just like swapping these things out for like freaking chips and bread, you're like, that's why you're gaining weight, my dudes. You got to be more conscious and try to like equate things, right? So again, like salmon, mostly protein, very lean protein. Try to eat freaking tofu. Like try to eat something that is equate in macronutrient inventory. I'm trying to think of the word that I want here, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I totally get it.
Sure.
And what do you think about like processed vegan plant-based meats and cheeses then?
Great question. And I mean, I might tackle it from two perspectives. Like earlier we were talking about the
oh yeah, we were talking about the KFC, how they came out with a plant-based chicken and like the McPlant,
right? And the McPlant at
Impossible Burger,
Mickey D's, right? Yeah, at BK, man. But I think like obviously it's not healthy.
No,
like,
not at all.
If y'all are out here eating a Big Mac a day and you're like, oh, just gonna go for the McPlant instead, it's way better. You're fooling yourself. You know, like it's very oily. You know, it's very highly processed. Huge amount of salt, just unnecessary sodium to make it taste really good and preserve it. Yeah, so it's not healthy, right? Like, I mean, maybe if we were to do the math and be like, which one's healthier, a Big Mac or a McPlant, I'd be willing to argue the McPlant's healthier just because
100%.
There's no, there's probably still no animal-based cholesterol in it, right? Animal-based protein. So I would say that from a health perspective, yeah, it's like incrementally better, but let's not fool ourselves and think that, you know, a McPlant diet is gonna take you anywhere, right? It's not. I don't know. But I think, you know, what we were talking about earlier with like the whole like plant-based capitalism concept.
Yeah.
I do think that when you buy these products, you're giving money to these huge corporations that are going to do bad things with it, right? So that's one thing to think about. And I always hesitate to use the word but, because they say like when you say but, it's like everything I just said is actually a lie.
It's not. It's all true.
But I'm saying kind of like a caveat and like and also right instead of but I'm going to say and also.
And also to add on to that,
right? It's reflective of the fact that veganism is winning, right? And plant-based, the desire for more plant-based products, whatever the reason, be it because people are more environmentally conscious, they're more health conscious, they're more conscious of the animals, which is what we really hope for.
Yeah.
It's reflective of that is happening, right? And that product is synonymous with the concept of veganism in a way, which some people might argue is like a bad thing. My perspective is the more the concept is spread, the better off we're all going to be, right? And I think it's hard to like connect the dots all the time, be like, oh, this is the right way. Like, unless it happens this way, it's going to be bad. It's like, well, then you got to understand the world is literally on fire, right? And you cannot connect all the pieces like that effectively all the time. So that's my take. I think there's just a lot of angles and whatnot with all of it. So.
Oh yeah. Hold on.
Interesting.
Okay, Zach. So I'm wondering, what are your long-term vegan goals?
Interesting question. Like as a vegan, well, obviously I want to see everybody be vegan. So
same.
The whole world be vegan. That's the longest term goal is definitely the whole planet going vegan. And I don't think the whole planet will go vegan, but I do think that
Eating more plant-based?
yeah, like I think eventually eating animals will become hella weird. Like it's going to become not widely accepted. So 100 years from now, eating animals will not be like an accepted thing. That just won't be the case. It will be very fringe. Even like I think that I really always hesitate to like comment on indigenous communities, but I even think the majority of indigenous communities probably won't consume animals.
Yeah, they don't really need to.
Well, I mean, eventually they definitely won't need to, right? And so nobody will need to do much of anything. Like in 100 years, I think we'll live in much more of like a technologically infused society where like most of your needs are going to be covered. And it's just going to be up to you to be innovative and creative. And so I think that'll happen on its own. Obviously, like my business to a degree is focused on helping people do that. Like I mostly coach people that are already vegan just to become the best that they can within their health and fitness and their mindset. But I also do coach people in making that transition if they want to, right? Because a lot of the time it's easy if you're making all these other habit shifts like sleep, fitness, meditation, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think like my goal is just to grow my platform, right? Grow my client base, influence as many people as I can with the truth that you really do not need animal products at all to thrive. In fact, they're probably hindering you.
Truth.
And so I'd say like on a macro level, those are my goals, just keep influencing people, keep changing minds, keep spreading love. What else can you do?
You're doing a great job at that.
Thank you, Justine. You too.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like you're influencing a lot of people.
I do my best,
Your TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
There you go. All over the place. Wherever the eyes can find me. Yeah.
What's your favorite way to do activism?
Ooh, that's a really cool question. I don't know. I'm like in a place where I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out what it is. I started out doing in-person activism. Big shout out to the vegans in Frederick, Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland. You guys really set me up strong with some really crazy activism, and you guys do a really good job. I would say now I mostly do online activism. So, making videos. I'm part of this Discord called the Animal Rights Discord, which you should all check out. It's like
join.
You should. It's almost 30,000 members, and they do every Sunday. They do like a thing where they go in other Discord rooms and into the voice chats, and they just try to talk to people about veganism.
Great.
But it's online activism works. People do they do change, right? They hear the information, and some people are just ready. And so most of what I do is I go live on TikTok and on Instagram. And when people come in the comments and just ask me questions, we just have a conversation with them. And then I have resources that I can point them to. And so a lot of people come in and they're like, maybe they have some resistance, but some people come in, they're like ready. They're just like, how do I do it? What do I do? And then you point them to the documentaries, you point them to the resources. And that's what they needed. They just needed somebody to like really
guide them.
Right. Guide them, give them that affirmation that you can do this. It's not hard. And here's the proof. So that's probably my favorite way. It's just human to human, the real conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite way too.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And online activism, it definitely works wonders because you can reach so many people across.
So many people. Yeah.
I'm here in Washington, D.C., by the way. That's how we're here right now.
Right.
And, we started following each other on Instagram. I was like, you know what? We're here in Washington. And you're from Maryland, so this is awesome. This is great that we can connect with vegans all across the country, no matter where we are.
Yep. And this is the proof that the community is strong. It really is. Yeah. It really is.
It's a great community to be in. A very loving one. Well, there are some militant vegans there, but
sure,
we were talking about that. They're like how the different types of vegans are like for like different types of people. Like
sure,
I guess different strokes for different folks.
I like that. Yeah. There's a lot of context you could use that in, but I'm gonna no. I mean, yeah, I think everybody is at a different place with what they need, right? And I don't think that there's a wrong way to do it. Like I do think one of the things that I want vegans in particular to be conscious of, right, is like the reality that you have only a certain amount of like emotional bandwidth. And so you got to be careful with that energy, right? And so if you're out here screaming at people, if you're out here like losing your mind all the time and like living in this state of depression about just how horrible it is what's happening to the animals and how there's not that many people changing, that's just where your attention is. Like, I got to be honest with you, where your attention goes, that's where your energy flows, right? And so if you're going to have longevity, right, because the key is longevity. How long can you be an activist, right? Not how hard can you go in one moment. It's like we're here to run marathons. We're not here to run sprints, right? And so
great analogy. Right,
there you go. And so like if you want to have a long-term impact, right, if you want to really change lives, you want to change lives in numbers, how are you going to keep your energy at a place where you don't want to exit this planet all the time, right? And I think it's, existential depression is super common in the vegan community, right? Misanthropy, right? Is that what it's called? Where you just hate,
how do you define that?
Hate human beings. Like you just hate humans.
Yeah. I have, there's a lot of vegans that hate humans, but that's not.
That ain't vegan.
Yeah, that isn't vegan.
Right? And so
we're trying to vibrate on love here.
Right. And so I think that's what y'all need to be really conscious of is like, your energy matters, right? And at the end of the day, you still have to live a life that you want to live, right? You have to be an example. And so I think a lot of the time people like discount their personal responsibility, even though they've already taken such a massive step, right, of like personal responsibility. And so just be careful, right? You only have one life, enjoy it and use positive energy to change people because it just changes people so much more effectively. Yeah.
Better. Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
There you go.
Like you'll get more people with plant-based honey than vinegar.
There you go. That's it. That's the truth. So I do believe it takes all types, but that said, there is a more effective way to do things. Yeah.
Coming from a more loving and being more of that example,
yes,
which you are. And I think people get inspired by you and they're like, how do you do that? Like, how do I be like him?
There you go. Doing our best out here,
Yeah, we are.
Mm-hmm.
So proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know, what are some tips or advice for people that want to go more plant-based or vegan?
I think the ultimate strategy, right, is like, if you want to go plant-based, I don't know. I don't know how to help. I'm just kidding. Like, I mean, you got to just swap things. That's really like, when it comes to like applicably, how do you change? You just got to know what you eat most consistently, right? And like see what is non-vegan and just swap it. It's the easiest way. On top of that, try recipes. Just like, if you can schedule time, first and foremost, like scheduling is the key to self-mastery, I think, right? Because if you have time set aside to become the person that you want to become, you don't have to do things perfectly, right? You have to do things imperfectly, consistently, right? And then you will change your habits, right? I always say like, the person who does 5 imperfect workouts a week for a year versus the person that does one amazing workout a week for a year. The person that does the imperfect workouts is going to get way stronger, way more shredded, whatever it is, they're going to reach their goals faster and better.
Exactly.
When it comes to anything, right? If you can make sure that you're able to put the time in, you'll get there, right? Like if you want to get good at meditating, you want to really know what it's like to enter that space of nothingness, right? Try to meditate for 5 minutes a day, right? And once you can condition yourself to sit there and do whatever it is you're going to do for those 5 minutes, eventually you can do that for 10 minutes and then 20 minutes. And more you're going to find yourself like in absolute zen. And then boom, right? You've done that for 5 months. For 5 months, you did this every day. You're going to be a pro at meditating. You're going to be so good. When it comes to like meal creation, right? If every day you have time set aside to practice a new recipe, to try something, right? Same thing. You're going to become a pro at like mixing ingredients, seasoning, all these things. When it comes to becoming a vegan though, right? Like in my opinion, a vegan is a person who cares about the lives of other beings, right? You got to know what happens. You got to really convince yourself that you are a vegan, that you're making the decision. And the way that you do that is just watch the documentaries. None of you, the craziest among you, right? The most violent among you could not watch those documentaries and be like, well, wow. And then just go right back to just mindlessly consuming animals. It couldn't happen, right? You're going to have that chip in your brain that you just know. You can't unsee these things. And so it's a decision, right? It's a commitment. And so when it comes to the tips, watch the documentaries. That's it.
What are your favorite documentaries?
My favorite documentaries are probably Earthlings and Dominion. Those are probably the two that I tell people to watch the most, just because they're the most the realest.
You see all the cruelty.
You see it. You just see it with no holds barred. Obviously Game Changers will try to, help you convince yourself about the fitness stuff.
Bodybuilding.
Right. What the Health will really try to convince you about your health. But I think at the end of the day, like every day there's a new study about what the healthiest diet is, right? And most nutritional scientists will say that the Mediterranean diet is the healthiest. I mean, it actually includes fish, right? And I think it's because of the omegas, like the omega-3 and omega-6. But
you can get that from hemp seeds.
Right, you can get that from hemp seeds. There you go, right? And so I think that you should not do it because of the diet. First and foremost, people that are dietary vegans, that's plant-based. That's not veganism. And so if you want to become a vegan, you're becoming a vegan because you want to be morally in alignment, right? You want your actions to be in alignment with your morals.
Integrity.
Exactly. And so that's what you got to do, is you got to really understand what happens to the animals. Yeah.
And like not supporting any forms of cruelty. It can be more than food.
Right. And so this is one of those things of like, I personally believe that veganism is doing your best as far as practical and possible, because we live in a society where animal exploitation is just so tied into everything, right? Like the clothing we wear, our food, not only like how we like the actual things, but like how it's produced, right?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And so I don't think in 2022 it's fully possible to remove all animal products, but veganism is about always trying to be better, right? It's like one of those things where you could be vegan for like 5 years and then all of a sudden you find out, oh shit, like this one little thing actually comes from animals. Being a vegan means like at that point you say, okay, I'm going to try to stop consuming this. It's not like, oh, well, I've been doing it, so I'm just going to keep doing it, right? It's realizing that you're always trying to strive, right? And sometimes you can't. You know how like there's always a lot of time there's a conversation about like poor people and in food deserts and whatnot.
Yeah, always.
Right. And I think those people could still be vegan, even if they are consuming animal products. Right. And this is like, if you're going to ask me unpopular opinions of a vegan, like that's my unpopular opinion, because somebody could consciously believe that this is like, it's wrong what's happening to the animals, but like they couldn't do anything else. Like if they're like homeless or something like that, like maybe they just can't. I know plenty of homeless people that are vegan, and not plenty. I know like 3 people that are homeless. I've been in the same situation, God. Right? And still been vegan.
In the same situation?
Relatively. I've never been like full-fledged without a home, right? But I have lived out of my car, and like I have lived in situations where I just...
Really? How did that happen?
That's a long story for another day, but...
Ooh, damn.
And
you still made it happen, though.
Sure, yeah. Now, granted, I wasn't eating super well, right? I wasn't super healthy, but I was still doing it. And the reason that I say what I said earlier, though, is because I didn't have kids, right? Like, I was still a person with full physical autonomy, right? I wasn't disabled. And so I think that there are situations that you might have to consume animal products to survive. But I would argue that if you are committed to ending animal oppression, you're still vegan. You still are a vegan, even if you cannot fully align your actions with veganism. And so I know that that's like a relatively unpopular opinion, but just a take that I have, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very possible to still be eating plant-based
Sure.
wherever you are. There's fruit growing
Maybe,
all around you.
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
Right. I feel like there's so much more abundance of like, we definitely don't live in an island now. So like everybody keeps with that excuse. If I was on an island with chicken or an apple.
Right. Yeah, well, okay. Like, great. And if that's what you need to do to survive, we'll talk when that happens.
Yeah. And right now we live in a time where
it's not
everything
gonna
is very
happen.
civilized. You know, you have your phone, you have your air conditioning,
Right.
everything is like given to you on a silver platter.
For the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think like we're privileged because we're vegan?
No, I mean, again, like, I don't think you're privileged because you make an ethical decision.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. Like, oh,
No, I mean, you're not like, why would that make you inherently privileged? But again, I think like that's where my opinion differs from a lot of people is because like I kind of create the allowance, like in my perspective, it like removes the excuse. Oh, I could never be vegan because of X, Y, Z. It's like, okay, well then be vegan despite X, Y, Z. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I could be vegan except for cheese. And then I'm like, then do it. You know, like if that's what it means
progress.
to you, you're going somewhere, right? Rather than making excuses. Do I think that you should stop there? No, I think dairy is awful.
Dairy is scary, babe.
But like we're so conditioned to like create these excuses for ourselves of like, oh, well, because of this, I can't do anything else. What the hell is that?
You can always change.
Yeah, you can always try. And again, like that's the thing about being a vegan. Like you're never gonna stop changing. You're always gonna be finding out shit is not vegan. You know, like your damn car seats or like your freaking ibuprofen or something has this and that in it. And it's like a vegan person is a person who commits to like changing right then and there. They look at that and say, damn, guess I got to find a replacement for this. Not like, damn, guess I'm not a vegan anymore. What the fuck is that? So
what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Development here.
Exactly. We're
increments.
We're taking accountability.
Yes. I like that. Taking responsibility, accountability
Right.
for our actions instead of making excuses. Like it rather to be an imperfect well, actually, I think all of us are pretty much imperfect vegans. There's no
It can't
such
be
thing as a
perfect.
perfect
Yeah,
vegan.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's like your intention and your goals and your growth that truly matters.
Right.
And that aligns with everything that you want to
There you go.
do.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Moral consistency. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
We love that.
I'm glad. I'm all about the moral consistency. So,
Thank you for being so ethical and compassionate.
yeah.
Amazing in every way.
My pleasure. I try. Always got a lot more to do, but there you go. And that's why I'm vegan.
What do you think that you have a lot more to do in terms of?
So I look at, I live like a first world life. So like you talked about like phones, like we got this recording equipment, like we're in this like a nice place, you know, having a nice, I ate some nice food, you know,
Yeah.
I drove here. Right. And so I look at, I think norms should never be accepted as they are. Right. And so like we live in this world where we're like so scared about like, oh, the world's burning and like species are going extinct and all this stuff. And like, we just fucking go about things like we look at it in the news, like that's too bad. Turn it off. Like time to go have some dinner in a freaking hot bath. And it's like, look,
I'm guilty of that.
yeah. And I think we all are. Right. And so I think like my goal is to take as much accountability as I can and realize that just because, you know, 100 million Americans like beyond myself are also like driving a combustion engine vehicle, right? Doesn't mean I have to, right? Like just because they're, you know, producing like half a ton of single-use plastic every year doesn't mean I have to, right? And so like my thing is that's what I want to do is try to get to a point where, I'm just like producing as little waste as possible, like you know, and maybe even you know, like carbon negative, you know, even like taking out more carbon than I'm producing, if that's even possible. But I think the fact that I'm striving and that I want to, that's the key, and that's like what all of us should do, because you know how people will say like, oh, well, consumers aren't responsible, right? It's like corporations and the government, they're the ones that need to make the change. Well, they listen to us, right? And so if we change, they will listen to us. You know, if I change and I convince 10 other people to change, and then they convince 100 people to change, and then those 100 people convince, 10,000, those 10,000 convince 1,000,000. Boom, boom, boom. We're making progress.
Power in the people.
Right. And so I think I am going to be a person that always seeks personal accountability, because I think that personal accountability is going to lead to systemic change. I don't think systemic change just comes from a bunch of people complaining and saying nothing's ever going to happen. It's like, well,
then nothing's ever going to happen.
Yeah. Speak that shit into existence, you fucking jerk. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Our words are spells.
Right. We're manifesting like hell, basically. And we all believe in zodiacs, and we all believe in manifestation, and yet we have the audacity to go on Twitter and talk about how this person in power is doing a horrible job, and this person in power is doing a horrible job. Okay, well then how about you go be the one in power and you change things? Well, you're not going to, because you don't have any capacity to change your own personal actions. You don't have you can't even change what fucking toothpaste you use. How are you going to criticize like the president? Right? That's insane. And so I think like if you really want change, start with yourself, because then you have the proof that it is possible. So
yes, exactly. All change begins within ourselves, and then it reflects on to each other.
Right, onto society. Yeah. And so that's kind of when you ask me like what I'm going to do. It's just like the constant commitment to try to do more. That's it. And it's not like a point that I'm ever going to reach that I'm just done. Right? It's like lifelong. I'm always going to be trying, right? I guarantee that when I have grandkids, or when I have kids and grandkids, they're going to look at me and be like, man, you're so stuck in your ways. Right? And it's how it's always going to be, but I'm always going to try. So maybe they won't say that, but who knows? Maybe I'll be like a cool,
proud of you.
Cool
like,
grandpa.
Oh my God, you've been vegan for how long? Since what
I
age?
was one of the OG vegans.
What age did you go vegan again?
I was, I would have been 20. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Wow. Well, yeah, your grandkids will be like, wow.
Yeah.
Since you're 20.
Hopefully they'll be born vegan, but
I think so.
my kids will be.
Yeah. Same. Mine's too.
They're going to have to be, or they're gone. But,
how are you going to teach the kids?
That's a great question. How am I going to teach my kids to be vegan? I probably won't for a while. Like I'll probably they probably won't know that they're vegan until like they're able to
conscious more.
Yeah. So like, up until the age of like 7, we'll just talk about how we don't eat animals.
And like why, and you show them videos.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'll show them like real harsh stuff, but like, I want them to know that like when I raise them, obviously like we'll talk about why we don't eat animals, and, it's all that kind of stuff. Like we have to kill them and it's wrong. And like milk and eggs, like, we're stealing their stuff, like that's their body parts. We're literally stealing that. Like, that's crazy. Right.
Totally.
But once they hit that age of like, 12, 13, 14, and they're starting to like, how can I resist my dad? How can I like,
rebellious
how can
stage.
I rebel against this guy, this jerk? Then I'll start to introduce like the realities of it, right? Because it's going to happen. It's inevitable that they're going to go to school and be like, well, Johnny's eating freaking fried chicken. I want to eat it. It's like, okay, if you want to eat it, go ahead. But here's what it is.
Oh, you give them the free will to do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna restrict my children, right?
Because you can't really control them all the time.
Right, and the more you try to like restrict a kid, the more they're gonna try to resist you. And so if you just like let go and release and recognize that I'm doing the best work that I can, I'm changing the lives. I'm changing, hopefully by that point, thousands of people's perspectives, right?
You will.
I'm sure my kid will come back around, as long as I respect them and I treat them with dignity. And I acknowledge, right, that they're growing up in a carnist society. This is not a vegan society, right?
Although I wish it was.
Oh, and hopefully someday it will be, but like they need to have the experience of going out and making the decision for themselves, right? I'm not trying to to like brainwash them as much as I'm trying to give them the truth.
Yes,
right?
give them the truth.
Yeah, so I think that's how I'm going to do it. I'll try to do it, yeah.
I mean, feed them plant-based and keep it real with them.
Sure, keep it real with them, yeah.
Be the example. I think that's the biggest part of anything.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I love kids and
Me too.
I want to, I think one of the biggest qualms that a lot of kids have growing up is like, oh, adults don't treat me like a human, right? They treat me like
a baby?
Kid, yeah, like a kid. You know, like I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's like, that sucks. And so I want my kids to feel like I listen to them and like I respect their opinions and I want them to be free, independent individuals.
Instead of being controlled, like most parents try to do.
Right. Like, like the classic religion thing. You like really strictly religiously conservative parents will like hold their kids down, like, curfews and who are you hanging out with? Oh, you can't go there. You can't do this. You can't do that. You got to stay inside in there. So they're like sneaking out and all this stuff. And
that was me.
Right. And that wasn't me. Right. Like my parents were like, go do whatever you want.
Oh, they're very like liberating.
Yeah. And so I feel like I had a better shot in a lot of ways because they didn't try to hold me back. And I became a person that was capable of, and I'm not saying like you can't become this way, but
totally can.
Yeah, like I grew up safer because like I knew my parents always had my back no matter what. And so I want that for my kids. And I want them to trust me, and that's how I know that they're going to ultimately end up being vegan. Like a lot of people will be like, I don't know, like how do I like a lot of people like anti-natalists. So there's a concept of like anti-natalism.
Oh, of like no children.
Yeah,
and like we take too many resources.
Right, and one of the big primary reasons people are anti-natalist in the vegan community is like, oh, what if my kids they end up not being vegan? I'm like, I don't even have that thought, right? Because I'm not going to force the position on them. I'm going to show them the truth. And if they grew up in a house where they were being loved, right, and they learn to value love and treating people with dignity, they're going to look at that and know it's wrong, just like any rational person would. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll come to them.
No fear, yeah.
Yeah, no fear
No
here.
fear at all. None. Yeah.
I like that. I like how you live by and you want to be that, what's it called? Parental figure in a way, like letting them be, but I think they'll come around to it.
Sure.
But what if they like end up not wanting to be vegan? That is a good question, like to think about, that a lot of vegans tell me as well. Like
there will be a price to pay.
What's the price going to be? What's the cost?
We're not going to talk about it, but there will be financial costs as well as potentially worse. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
I just highly doubt that. I just don't see how that could be possible. Like if I raise a child to recognize that like everybody is like has the right to a good life regardless of like their skin color, for example, right? If I deliberately educate my child to be anti-racist, I just like, how the hell could they end up being racist? Right?
Okay.
Like it's not that it's hard, because I guess like society could still brainwash them into racism, but it's like if I provide them a loving home where there's no pressure to be some type of person and there's no like shaming of them if they're not the way that I want them to be, right? I'm going to be the person that I want to become, right? So that I don't have to look at my kid and be like, if you don't become a doctor and make this family proud, like we're all screwed, and so we're going to shame you. Like, no, I'm going to become the success that I want to be, so my kid can do whatever the fuck they want, right? And in the meantime, if I give them these values, hopefully they don't turn out a freaking racist. Like, it just seems very unlikely. And again, this is all coming from a white guy, so don't take this with a grain of salt. But the same thing goes for veganism, right? The same thing goes for like, being a feminist. Like all of these things that it's like it just kind of happens, right? I think that there has to be another force that is stronger that tries to convince them, no, women are lesser, right? Like, no, black people are lesser, right? Like, there has to be a force that comes into their life that tries to brainwash them.
An influence, you think?
Right. And so the way that I'm going to, combat that is by being a friend, is by being somebody that they can
confide in.
Right, confide in and be like, Dad, I went to Jimmy's house and Jimmy's brother had a blunt and we smoked the blunt and I got high. And without me being like, you what? And I'm just like, well, you got to just be careful with that stuff, man. Cause
your lungs,
it can be super fun, but it can also take you down a road that is freaking scary. Right. So just be careful. And I'm not going to shame them. Right. It doesn't matter what they come to me and say. Right. I'm just going to
educate them.
Yeah. Educate them and be a supporter. Right. And just,
yes.
Cause it's, you trust your supporters. You're going to listen to them. Oh, you're giving me water. I thought you were like I thought you were like,
have
cheers.
the last of the water.
Cheers to that.
Yes, cheers to that too.
But yeah, so that's my answer to that question. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. I love that. And I think more people should definitely try that parenting style out for sure.
There you go.
You hear that, Mom?
Yeah. Parenting 101 from two people that don't have kids. So.
But we have some pets.
Right, and that's all you need. So,
for now.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about vegan pets?
I think, I don't know. I think I've seen a lot of people that have vegan dogs.
Mm-hmm. I think dogs can for sure be vegan.
Yeah,
they're so dependent on us.
Right. So many people have vegan dogs and they're plenty healthy, right? There's ways to supplement the amino acids that the dogs need. Cats, I don't know. I just haven't seen that many people do it, but I guess from my limited veterinary knowledge, I don't see why you couldn't supplement the proper amino acids,
Yeah.
Lab grown or not lab grown, but factory made meat substances that have all the right amino acids. I don't know.
What do you think about lab grown meat and eating that?
Lab grown meat? Huh. From what I've seen, at this point, I'm pretty sure lab-grown meat still requires an animal to take.
I think they take their cell and
they
duplicate it or whatever.
Take a petri dish of the cell, and so
it kind of still grosses you out, right? Doesn't it?
A little bit. Yeah, I think until I know for a fact that the process does not require animal bodies at all, I'm gonna steer clear of it just because.
Maybe it's good for the cats.
Right. So there you go. So we can use that stuff to feed our carnivorous, homies a little bit more ethically.
Yes.
But I think it'll be a while before lab grown meat is totally cruelty free. But once it gets to that point, I would try it, why not? Maybe it seems gross, and it kind of does. But I'm also a crazy person. I used to do all sorts of crazy stuff. So I would try it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all had our crazy moments. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's no cruelty, then I guess it's better.
It's definitely better.
Yeah,
definitely better than mass animal slaughter.
Yeah, the Holocaust here.
Holocaust. But yeah, so that's my answer. When it happens, it happens. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they're already coming out with lab grown dairy.
Really?
Yes.
Do they have lab grown meat?
Yeah, and they already have lab grown meat.
Huh.
So if you really are you can't live without your meat and dairy.
It's coming. It's coming. The collapse of animal agriculture is nigh.
Yes.
I'm a hopeful person, and I'm an optimist, but even more than that, I'm a person that
realist
is a hopeful realist. Mm-hmm. I just look around at technology and the movement of markets and the movement of people's positioning. People are becoming just more and more left leaning, more and more and more. And so,
what is left leaning?
It's such a good question. I think just against antiquatedness, right? So against the concept of
mainstream.
We can't keep a lot of people the conservative ideology is like, we got to protect the way things are. Left, like liberal ideologies, like we got to progress. And so I think people are becoming more progressive. Yeah. And you see it in politics, you see it in science, you see it in all these fields. And so I think like pretty much everybody, if they are conscious of like what's happening on the planet, they realize that animal agriculture is playing a huge role, right? And veganism and the knowledge that animal suffering is wrong on a mass scale is going to become mainstream. And so I believe that we will solve the climate crisis. I just think that like the next revolution of our economy is like an environmental one, right? Mm-hmm. Renewable energy. Like you look outside and we all live in these freaking houses with these like green lawns that we're spraying shit on, like no native plants, like root systems that are that deep. And we're like, oh no, flooding, such a problem, right? Like all of these like environmental disasters that we could easily deal with, right? We're gonna deal with them because there's just gonna get to a point where things are so bad, right, that like you have to. Like the recent tornadoes in Kentucky that just like ruined towns.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
Like we're not going to be able to deal with these things for too much longer, right? It's just like the fires in the West. The
natural disasters happening.
Right, in California and whatnot. There's going to get to a point where people are like, okay, look, this is going to become so bad that nobody's going to get away, like without being injured or like losing a lot of their property or loved ones and stuff. There's already changes happening, right? Like there's already changes in the energy sector of like how we get our energy from renewable energies and stuff. But it's going to keep going, right? We're going to be developing new construction smarter, right? We're not going to be doing this green lawn shit anymore.
We could make a garden instead.
Exactly. Like eventually we're going to be planting native plants and having gardens and all this stuff. And it's going to take time, but it is going to happen, right?
Oh, I definitely believe that.
It is going to happen. And so I think when people are like just doomsday, like, oh, everything's going to be horrible. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, it's going to get worse before it gets better, I think. Mm-hmm. But
the breakdown before the breakthrough.
Right. I like that. You know, and so I think, you know, things are going to change, and it's moral, it's environmental, it's all of these things. But it's a matter of time, and you do have to be, you have to be hopeful, because hope is what's going to allow you to take more action.
Hope and faith.
Right. Or action that's actually going to do something.
Yeah. Action will.
Right.
Hands down.
There you go.
There you go, folks. Well, this has been a great interview. My first podcast.
There you go. I'm glad. It's an honor.
It's an honor. Zach O'Malley.
Yes.
O'Malley.
You can call me O'Malley if you want.
O'Malley. But on Facebook, it's like Zach O-Y.
Yeah, Zach O-Y. My full last name is O'Malley Young. So I always just say O'Malley. My dad probably is not too happy about that, but just easier. Yeah.
What's your Instagram? Plug yourself.
So my Instagram is vegan_strongfit. Eventually that will just be my business Instagram. I'm trying to not be on the internet myself anymore. Maybe I'll have a personal Instagram. I just, social media. Social media is just, it saps your energy, but I'm not trying to plug myself and be like, but don't follow me. No. So yeah, I'm vegan_strongfit on Instagram, vegan_strongfit on TikTok. Same thing on Twitter, same thing on Facebook.
And YouTube.
I'm just Zach O-Y on YouTube. Yeah.
You have your OnlyFans.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. You ain't doing that no more.
I got rid of my OnlyFans. Yeah. It's just, big shout out to sex workers, because man, that takes a lot of work. Talking to all those horny men, I couldn't do it anymore.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
So, there you go.
Now you're focused on that business.
100%. Yeah, trying to coach as many vegans to the best they can be, and that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. You're doing a great job of that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
I'm glad to be here. We'll have to do it again sometime.
We have to.
Yeah. The revamp.
Yes. Woo! Oh, the clap.
Oh my God.
Woo! Love it. Okay, guys. So thanks for listening. And thanks for being on my first podcast, Zach, again.
My pleasure.
We talked about so many great things. And and I'll say my outro.
There you go.
Thanks for listening, my fruity friends. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this episode. And thanks for having an open heart and mind listening to this. Be sure to stay juicy. Oh yeah, baby. It's Juicy Justine sending you peace, love, and many hugs.
Oh wow, that was so good.
That was great.
I love that.
I love that you have like pre-recorded intros and outros.
Yeah.
I like at first I was listening to the intro and I was like, wow, you're doing that with your voice, and I looked at you and you're not moving your mouth. And I was like, what? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just got this thing and then I saw this. I was like, wait, you can re-record and then you can like put your Bluetooth, have a song, and then you can like record while you're doing it.
That's
like,
sick.
So convenient.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So you have to let me know when it comes out.
Oh, for sure.
Heck yeah.
Okay, we should definitely take a picture together.